Okay, so imagine this for a moment. A world where the line between myth and reality isn't as clear as we think, where stories passed down for generations might not be entirely wrong, because sometimes what we call legends are just things we haven't been able to prove yet. Number 10, Mokele-Mbembe, the creature hidden in the Congo. In the heart of Central Africa, there are forests so dense, even satellites struggle to see through them. The Congo Basin is vishal, unpredictable, and still not fully explored. For generations, local communities have described the same creature, a massive animal, long neck, heavy body, moving slowly through rivers and swamps. The descriptions are surprisingly consistent, and importantly, they don't clearly match any known species. Explorers in the early 1900s took these stories seriously enough to investigate. They found footprints, broken vegetation, and signs of something large moving through the water. But here's the key detail. No confirmed specimen has ever been found. So what does that mean? Most scientists lean toward known animals being misidentified or patterns being interpreted through expectation. But at the same time, the Congo is one of the few places on Earth where discovering a new large species, while unlikely, isn't impossible. So the question remains, not is it real, but how much of the story is based on something real? Number 9, the Jersey Devil. For over 200 years, people in New Jersey's Pine Barrens have reported something strange. A winged creature, long legs, an unnatural scream cutting through the forest. The environment itself plays a role here. Dense woods, low visibility, unfamiliar sounds, the perfect conditions for perception to distort reality. During the early 1900s, sightings became so frequent that schools closed and search parties were organized. And yet, nothing was ever confirmed. Scientists suggest misidentified animals or even mass hysteria, and realistically, that explains most cases. But what keeps the story alive is the consistency. Across decades, across witnesses, the same core image keeps appearing. Not proof, but not nothing either. Number 8, unknown giants of the deep ocean. The ocean covers more than 70% of Earth, and most of it remains unexplored. For centuries, sailors described enormous creatures beneath the waves. At the time, it sounded like exaggeration, until one detail changed everything. Giant squid turned out to be real. Creatures once dismissed as myths were eventually filmed alive in the deep. And that changes the conversation completely. Because if something that extreme existed, what else might still be down there? Modern expeditions occasionally detect large unidentified shapes on sonar, brief, unclear, but real signals. Now, this doesn't mean unknown sea monsters are confirmed, far from it, but it does mean one thing. The deep ocean is still full of unknowns, and we've barely scratched the surface. Number 7, the Yeti. High in the Himalayas, there are regions so remote humans rarely set foot there, and for centuries people have described something walking on two legs, covered in thick hair. Footprints have been found, large, unusual, but often inconclusive. Most analyzed samples point to known animals, bears mostly. But here's where it gets interesting. Not all evidence is easily explained. Some samples remain inconclusive, not because they prove anything, but because they don't clearly match anything either. Add to that harsh weather, low oxygen, visual distortion, and you get a perfect mix of reality and misinterpretation. The Yeti might not be what people imagine, but the question it raises is still valid. How much of what we see is shaped by where we are? Number 6, the chupacabra. In the 1990s, reports spread rapidly across Puerto Rico and Latin America. Livestock found dead, unusual marks, very little blood.
The story evolved quickly. Descriptions varied, reptilian, canine, something in between. And this is where science steps in. Many later chupacabra specimens turned out to be coyotes or dogs, affected by disease altering their appearance. So does that solve the mystery? Partially, because the earliest reports don't always match those explanations perfectly. What we're likely seeing here is something more subtle, a mix of real events filtered through fear, media, and collective storytelling. Not a monster, but not entirely fiction either. Number 5. The Thunderbird. Long before modern science, indigenous cultures across North America described enormous birds, wings so large they could block out the sky. At first glance, it sounds symbolic, mythological, but there's a biological twist. Fossils show that massive birds did exist, creatures with wingspans far beyond anything alive today. Now imagine this, ancient humans encountering those animals and passing the story down. Over time, details change, scale increases, reality blends with imagination. Modern sightings are usually explained as large birds seen at a distance, but the origin of the myth? That might be grounded in something very real. Number 4. The Loch Ness Creature. A deep, cold lake in Scotland, dark water, limited visibility, perfect conditions for uncertainty. Since the 1930s, people have reported seeing something moving beneath the surface. Long neck, large body, slow movement. Scientists have investigated for decades, sonar scans, underwater exploration, nothing conclusive. Most sightings can be explained, waves, debris, boats, optical illusions. But here's what keeps the mystery alive. The lake is large enough and deep enough that full certainty is surprisingly difficult. So Nessie exists in a strange space, not confirmed, not completely dismissed. A reminder that sometimes the environment itself creates the mystery. Number 3. Shadow humanoids. This is where things shift. Across different countries, people report seeing dark human-like figures, tall, silent, appearing at the edge of vision, then gone. Psychology offers strong explanations: low light, stress, sleep deprivation, the brain trying to make sense of incomplete information. And in most cases, that's likely enough, but not all. Some reports involve multiple witnesses, others include recorded footage, unclear but difficult to fully explain. So what are they? Probably not physical beings, but also not entirely random. They sit at the intersection of perception and how the brain processes reality. And that's what makes them unsettling, because the mystery might not be out there, it might be in how we see. Number 2. The Mokele-Mbembe. Deep in the Amazon, one of the most biologically diverse places on Earth, there are stories of a powerful, upright creature, massive, strong, covered in fur. The Amazon is still revealing new species regularly, even large ones. And there's an interesting theory. Some scientists suggest these legends could be linked to ancient animals, like giant ground sloths that once lived in South America, not surviving today, but remembered, over generations, transformed into something larger than life. So the Mokele-Mbembe may not be real in the way stories describe it, but its origin? That might come from a time when humans shared the world with very different creatures. Number 1. The Orang Pendek. In the jungles of Sumatra, there are places where the forest is so dense, visibility drops to almost nothing. And for centuries, people have described a small, upright creature, not quite human, not quite animal, short, covered in hair, moving with control, not instinct. What makes this case different is who reports it, not just locals, but explorers and researchers as well. Footprints have been documented, hair samples collected, none conclusive, but not easily dismissed either. And here's the important detail. New primate species have been discovered in Southeast Asia in recent decades. So while there is no proof, the idea itself isn't impossible. The Orang Pendek exists in that narrow space between what we know and what we haven't discovered yet. And when you look at all of this together, a pattern starts to form. Not every myth is real, but not every myth is completely false either. Sometimes they're just echoes of something seen once and never fully understood. And remember, the universe doesn't reveal its secrets to those who rush. It reveals them to those who know how to look. Subscribe and keep listening to the silence.